Hi everyone, this is a chapter on talking about the number of roots for the first part and imaginary roots on the second part. So for this video, I'll be talking about the nature of roots. In other words, how many x-intercepts or roots are there in a quadratic equation. There are three cases. The first one, if triangle. So what is triangle? Triangle is what we call discriminant. Some people call this delta because of the Greek letter. So if the triangle or delta is greater than 0, then so delta is actually the equation in the square root over here for a quadratic formula. So everybody learned the quadratic formula in the last chapter. So we usually say triangle or discriminant equals to b squared minus 4ac. Now, when this triangle over here is a positive number, for example 3, you're going to end up with two answers because of the plus or minus on the left side. But if triangle is 0, plus 0 and minus 0 are basically both 0. So you can imagine that this whole thing, this term over here, disappears and you would get negative b over 2a, which produces one answer only. And the last scenario is, what if triangle becomes a negative number, negative 3 for example. Then if you've been playing with your calculator, you will notice that a square root of a negative number, like negative 3, will produce math error on your calculator. So that's what we call imaginary number. In other words, it's undefined. It's like not real. So there are three scenarios or cases down here. When triangle is greater than 0, you would have two different real roots. Okay, so we usually mention two distinct real roots or two unequal real roots. You might see the word distinct more often. Now for case number 2, when triangle is equals to 0, you would have one answer. So that's called one double real root. The word double means like when you're trying to solve your equation, you might end up with the same answer, x equals 1, x equals 1 for a quadratic. You probably experienced this in chapter 1. This is called one double root, like they're duplicate. And the last case, when you have an imaginary number or what we call undefined math error, that's no real roots. The word real is important here because if you mention no roots, that's actually incorrect because there are imaginary roots. It's just you did not learn it or you don't have to learn it yet. Alright, so I'm going to try some questions and to show you how to answer them. For example, A over here, when triangle is b squared minus 4ac, right? I'm sure you already know which one's A, which one's B, and which one's C. Sometimes they might rearrange them, so make sure A is next to x squared, B is next to x, and C is the constant. Just substitute 7 squared minus 4ac, and make sure to include the bracket. So for example, negative 4 there, you need to include the negative with it. Put everything in the calculator. 7 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 4 is 97. So 97 is greater than 0, therefore my answer here will be two distinct real roots. Now let's do one more. So I have to rearrange the term, negative 10x plus 25 equals 0. So the right side gotta be 0. Find triangle. Triangle equals to negative 10 squared minus 4ac. I would have bracket. You have to include a bracket because if not, it's going to give you the wrong answer. So bracket negative 10 squared minus 4 times 25, 0. So 0 tells us that there are one real root, one double real root. Okay. Now moving on to another type of question. For example, question 6 over here. Now, if a quadratic equation has real roots, so this one is a special word. When they don't mention how many there are, like real roots only, it can be either 1 or 2. And you will see the word range. So range probably will refer to the inequality sign that you're going to use, greater than or equals smaller than, sometimes with the equal sign, right? In this case, it's going to be greater than, because it can have two real root, but it can also be equal, one real root. So we're gonna combine greater than and equals to together in the same sign. That's why this phrase or term over here is very tricky. It's a combination of 1 and 2 together. So now we need to identify ABC. This is A, this is B, and C is this whole thing over here. You would have negative 8 squared minus 4AC. Now what we got to do is solve M with the inequality. This is 64 minus 4 times, negative 4 times 5 is negative 20, minus 4M greater than or equals to 0. 64 minus 20 is 44. You would have negative 4M greater than or equals to negative 44. Now I'm about to divide a negative number. If you remember, when you divide a negative number, you need to flip the sign. Divide or times a negative number, you need to flip the sign. But if you do plus or minus a number, you don't need to flip the sign. It's only when it's divide or times a negative number. So negative 44 divided by negative 4 will be 11. So this is what's the meaning of range of values. You will see there is a range for the values of M. Like M can be 11, M can be 10, M can be 0, negative 5, as long as it fulfills this requirement, less than or equals to 11. And that is how you solve this question. That is it for this video. Those are the two types of questions from this section. And see you in the next video. Goodbye.